Gentlemen, we are in for a treat on the Dealer Evolution stage. A frequent AIMExpo contributor, speaker, and partner, the president of Garage Composites, Sam Dantzler.
Thank you, Lee. I appreciate that. Lee was just telling me that he was getting in trouble for his playlist that wasn't approved. To which I'll tell you, Lee, I was in Tampa for the Marine version of this conference in mid-December, and they were playing Elton John. So I appreciate you very much. I don't know that there's anybody who's at this event that's more excited to be here than I am. Every single year that I've ever been since AIMExpo and all the, where they filled up every nook and cranny of AIMExpo, for those of you who remember it, and Lucas Oil Center, right, with the overflow product that was out there. Perk, you remember that? Like, unbelievable. This is an industry that's grabbed a hold of me at a very young age, and I can't let it go. So I'm super grateful and privileged to be here, and there's not a single day that goes by that I don't think, I can't believe I get to do this again. So hold on tight, 'cause it's gonna be a quick 45 minutes. I have some numbers to show you on this round. I rarely don't put a whole bunch of numbers into a PowerPoint, but I do, because I thought this was the screen, and now apparently this is the screen. So I'll do my best if I can to zoom in real time. We'll see how that goes, but I will call out the numbers to you as we get going. We're gonna talk about the national average versus the top 10. And this has to do with over 400 dealers reporting into our composite. If you don't know who we are, Garage Composites, the composite is the book. We're not a flooring company, which is the first thing we always get from people. And I'm like, does a flooring company have a cool bulldog? No, 0 flooring companies have a cool bulldog in the logo. Our composite is our book of data, where we track all the dealers' data information and we analyze it. And we say, okay, those numbers in your parts department look really good. How are you doing it? What's the behavior underneath it? And those numbers in your service department are not good. How do we help you figure out what the behavior is underneath that and get rid of it? That's what we do. From there, we spin off managers, academies, and in-dealership training, and we do a lot of work with industry expos like this. So I'm gonna give you a dose of numbers, and I've been really interested this particular year about what are the top 10 dealers, top 10% by operating profit. So we know what we're talking about here. It's the top 10% of dealers by operating profit. What are they doing, and how does that compare to the national average, which is our average of dealers, not the 4,000 or 6,000 or however many dealers you think are out there, not that national average, but the average of dealers that are reporting into our composite. So it's really interesting because you guys sell the same stuff, and yet the difference, the delta between the two is pretty incredible. So I'm gonna start right here with transactional data. If you know transactional data, you're no stranger to that slide. It's basically, there's only one number to look at right now for the purposes of this exercise, and this is the one at the very bottom, which is transactions to deliveries. We can tell you with mathematical certainty since 2008 how many major units a dealer could have, maybe not should have, but could have delivered out of that store. So if you want to know what headroom potential is in a store that you're looking to buy, we can tell you exactly to the unit how many it could be. The difference is sometimes we hit that number and we're not as profitable had we not hit that number. That's been an interesting thing I've noticed this whole entire year, and I'm gonna share that with you. So we're gonna start here, which sets the tone for the rest of comparing the top 10% in operating profit to the national average, and what's the behavioral delta between those two. So what you're looking at, anytime I put 2 boxes up on the screen, either the one on the left or the one on top, or both, left and top, will be the top 10% of the dealers that are out there. The one on the bottom or the right, or both, bottom right, will be the national average, okay? They're the exact same box. And I've bounced between this is a Harley slide, I've bounced between Harley and metric as we go, because I didn't know what my audience mix would be. But this is interesting, because what it's telling us, if you look at the BM category, that is a benchmark. Not to be confused with top 10, a benchmark is the top 20% of dealers in that category. Not based off of operating profit, but on that particular category called transactions. The benchmark, as you can see in both scenarios, bottom right corner of each box, is 19.9, which is to say there were 20, let's call it 20, transactions inside of the store for every one major unit that we sold. Everybody follow me on that? That's the benchmark. It's the benchmark for everybody, including top 10 and national average and everybody. And what you see on the bottom right, that second or the first number to the left of the 19.9 is 32.8. That's saying that the national average dealer is selling one major unit for every 32.8 transactions, when he or she could be selling one major unit for every 20 transactions. That is a giant delta. But then you're like, okay, let's see how the rock stars are doing it. Let's go to the top 10%, and they're running at 30. Wait a minute. Hang on, Sam. That doesn't make any sense. They're running at 31.8 when the benchmark's 19 and 32.8. Can we just round those down to 30 for the sake of conversation? Both of them are running at 30. Shouldn't the top 10% be running at 1 to 19 or 18 or 17 or something like that? And there's a reason for that. But to quantify the delta for you between those, for those of you who've never seen, how many of you quickly have never looked at the transactional data relative to number of units sold? How many of you have never seen that analysis? Okay, this has been the number one metric we've been looking at since 2008. Number one, it tells us exactly what we could have done. So at 1 to 30, let's just say 1 to 30 on both sides, and the benchmark's 1 to 20, that means 20% of our dealers are actually hitting that benchmark. They're selling one major unit for every 20 transactions that are out there. That's a difference of 10, okay? Which 10 is what percent of 20? And the answer is 50%. And for any University of Miami fans out there, see me after, I'll run the math for you. We'll clear that up for you guys. If I did it in gold chains, you'd probably figure it out. That's 50% more bikes that we could have, should have sold, or could have. Maybe not should have, but had the opportunity to sell. Now, what does 50% more motorcycles, ATVs, UTVs look like to your bottom line? Well, on one hand, you think it's amazing. It'd be great. But then why aren't the top 10 hitting it? And the answer is because the top 10 are playing a different game. And I know right now you're like, what do you mean a different game? It's motorcycle retailing, it's power sports. We bring in a bunch of stuff at wholesale. You know, we mark it up, we sell it at retail, get some money left over, we pay our flooring and our expenses and our payroll, and maybe there's some left on the bottom line. Isn't that the game of power sport retailing? But inside that game is a different game. And I sit here and I think about the wild, wild world of college football this year. If any of you have been watching, and I see a bunch of smiling and nodding heads out here, this is the craziest year I've ever seen in college football. Now you gotta know, as an FSU alumni, the first game out of the year when FSU beat Alabama, I was on the podcast saying, man, the season could be over right now and I'd be happy. They could lose every game from here on out, and then they did. So it was a rough year for my Seminoles. But then you got teams like Indiana, you have the basketball team, that's playing against Oregon for a chance at the national championship. And don't look past the Miami Hurricanes and who they're playing. Anybody know who they're playing? That would be Ole Miss. I know, they've never been there, I'm aware. It's the craziest year ever. And we can get into the portal and kids jumping in and getting money, just, there's no loyalty and they're skipping and they're going. It doesn't really make any difference. What there is parity in the league now. And anybody, if they play their cards right, can find themselves in this situation. They're playing different games. Miami has one of the strongest defenses in the league. If they get paired up against Oregon, a high-flying offense, that is a very different game than Indiana's consistent 3 to 5 yards every play kind of a game. It's still the same game called college football, but it's a totally different game getting played at the line of scrimmage. Are you with me on this? So how many of you, I'm gonna give you two scenarios and you can tell me by show of hands if you fall into one of these two scenarios. Scenario number one, you bought a little too much in the off season. You've been sitting on a little too much inventory, maybe a lot of too much inventory. You're paying too much juice on that inventory. You tell your team, don't walk a deal at all costs. So we have a low margin, the margin compression, because we're taking every deal. We're chasing down every possible customer we can get our hands on. We have to have more salespeople to chase down all those customers at a lower margin, so the percentage of payroll, the payroll as a percent of gross profit is more than, as your margin is less than, and all of a sudden you're looking at the bottom line going, this has been quite a lean year. Anybody in that position right now that want to admit it? Nobody wants to admit it? Yeah, okay, there. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate it. The flip side is you didn't get yourself in an inventory situation. You're clean on your inventory. You don't have many OBS bikes, as in 12 months old or older, obsolescent. That's what we call them in our composite. If they're 12 months old, birthday bikes, birthday ATVs. You don't really have that many of them. I really don't need to take every deal. I can afford to walk people because I'm not paying too much juice on those deals, and I can have less staff because I don't have to chase down every crazy lead that's out there for some black guy wanting it at half price. Can you see how maybe the transactional number comes in line with that mentality, that you're not chasing all the other deals that are out there, but your profit should tell me a totally different story? At the end of the day, gang, it comes down to what game you're playing. I don't know what that ball is in the middle. I think I would like to play that game. I would like to know if anybody has played this game before, if you could tell me afterwards what this is. Anyone? Rick, you ever played that game down in New Mexico? I've not played that game. There are some people, when you give them a speech, they say, you got to tell them what you're going to tell them, and then you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. How many of you have heard that before? Okay. My dad used to summarize all that in set the table. You got to set the table for people. You got to tell them where we're going. You got to let them know what's available. Here's all the food that's available. All this. So what do? Same thing I always do when I'm building a speech. I go online and I search for set the table. This picture comes back. That can't be real. There's so many things wrong with this picture. No dude with a beard like that wears a sweater. None of them. Look around the room. Nobody with beards. None of you have that on. He's serving a bowl inside of a bowl. Do you see it? He's got two different colored plates. There's no food on the table. More importantly, there's no drink in his hand while he's setting the table. That is not okay. So then I go back in. I'm like, okay, I got to refine the search. Guys setting the table. Go. I have never in my life seen four guys sitting that close to each other that happy. Eating pot stickers. Ever. But then I thought, maybe they're playing a different game. What do I know? Here is the contract. I want you to read just the top two lines of this. Here is the contract of a gig that I did when this was the title that was written by the person who hired me and said, what do you think of this description? And I said, as a sales and marketing leader, outperforming the market and profitability is key to your departments and long-term dealership health. I'm like, it's a little subjective. And the response was, well, how's that subjective? And I said, okay, as a sales and marketing leader, outperforming the market with profitability or in profitability. I'm like, those three bullet points are completely subjective. What does outperforming mean? Performing better than what benchmark? This room? The national average? All of the Honda dealers that are out there? Every Harley dealer in your performance group, Ray? What does outperforming mean? And what's the market? Is it power sports? Is it want-based industry? Maybe it's outdoor recreation. I don't even know what the market is. In profitability. Gross? Operating profit? Net profit? Cash in the bank? No flooring dollars? Owning all my pre-owned inventory? Do you see how subjective that can be? So we have to clean some of that up. We have to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. And one of the guys in our 20 club came up with this sheet before the meeting that we were at. This is a Harley-Davidson comparison of real dealers that are all coded, so don't worry about it. But he said to the room, are you guys chasing statistics or are you actually chasing profit? And I sat back in my chair and I was like, that is profound right there. Are you chasing the transactional ratio that we know we could attain, or are you actually chasing profit to the bottom line? The gross margin per dealer. You got top 10, which we're comparing, the national average, and then this particular group's average, right? And if you go down, you see for the gross margin per unit sold, hopefully you guys can see this in the back, but you got anything from 5,450, here's 5,900 to, what is it, 30 something? There's a 3,900. 3,900, that's a 2K swing on every bike. And it's not like this person's selling all touring bikes and they're selling all little bikes. They're all selling the same stuff. And there's a 2K swing. What does each motorcycle cost you? And as you look at the cost in there, you're seeing anything from $1,500 to $23,000. That's payroll, flooring, other direct costs. That's what that is. Payroll, flooring, and other direct costs. And advertising for the sales department goes in that. So therefore, your contribution or your net per sales department for major units, This is the variation from $1,900 to $4,400. By the way, the $4,400 guy is in the top 10%, FYI, as he's selling less motorcycles on purpose because he's not bogged down with inventory and his payroll is in line as well. Hi, Mandy. It's front seat for me. Here's what I know. What are you fishing for? Do you even know what you're fishing for? Can your team tell me what winning is? We won today if blank. If your team can't answer that question, you have to go home and tell them what winning is. Is winning getting rid of the birthday bikes and birthday ATVs that are out there? Is that winning? Is winning selling X amount of units? Is $4,000 a click on F&I winning? I'd say that's pretty good winning right there in our industry. What is winning, right? How do we know what we're even fishing for? What do you even put on the hook if we don't even know what we're trying to catch? Here comes some data. Hold on tight. This is the inventory box. Control your inventory, it will control you. This is metric. I'm going to give you a Harley next. Top 10, national average. Top 10. Don't get all bogged down with the numbers. I just want you to look at the comparison between the two. Primarily, we have 291 pieces of inventory in the top 10 at $3.5 million in cost and 292 grand worth of birthday bikes. I call them all bikes, ATVs, UTVs, all that, right? As opposed to national average, 321 units versus the 291, 4.3 million in inventory versus the 3.5, and 465 grand in OBS versus the 292. Can you imagine how that one stat alone plays out with the flooring? Just that one stat alone, and what the perpetual increase is every month when another bike becomes 12 months old and rolls into that next category. So the question you got to ask yourself, the behavior is who's doing the buying? Who's allowed to do the buying? Who's overseeing the person who's allowed to do the buying? And I'll give you an Ed Lemko quote, my mentor in the industry. Nobody ever went broke for what they didn't buy. And no OEM in this place wants to hear that. And right now, some of them are like, shut up, Sam, stop talking about that. But you know what an OEM really wants? They want you to be healthy next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, so you can keep taking more and more inventory as you consider to grow, not to bog you down with too much inventory. Here's the Harley, same thing in the Harley world. 204 pieces, 3.6 mil at 41 grand OBS. 151 units, 2.6 mil at $209,000 in OBS. $209,000 in OBS. There's another thing going on in the Harley space that we don't have time to get into right now. But I tell you what, Harley is a very, very resilient company. And I hope, Ray, they got the right guy in place. And I think that brand will spin around as soon as they do get the right person in place, whoever that happens to be. My favorite sales trainer ever. You've heard me say this phrase. Sales is a transfer of enthusiasm. Please note what it is not. It is not a transfer of the cheapest price. Please hear that. Sales, particularly in a want-based industry, is not a transfer of the cheapest price. It's a transfer of enthusiasm. It's also not a transfer of product knowledge as salespeople continue to vomit their way into a low-margin deal. I don't know why. What I do know is that it's the profession of selling is the highest paid profession in the world. In the world, and it's the lowest paid profession in the world. It's both. It is on the same product, FYI, is the highest paid profession and the lowest paid profession in the world on the same product. Because when you look at the lowest paid professionals and you ask them this one question, and I'd love for you to go home and ask your staff this question. Hey, what do you sell? Their answer in the lowest paid profession is the it. I sell motorcycles. Oh, I sell parts and accessories. Oh, we sell service, labor time. Yeah, that's what I sell. Well, welcome to the lowest paid profession. Anybody ever said that before? Welcome to the lowest paid profession. If that stings, it was meant to. As opposed to the highest paid profession, dreams, memories, and experiences. On the exact same product. No, you don't sell Ducatis, you sell dreams, memories, and experiences. No, you don't sell ATVs and UTVs, you sell dreams, memories, and experiences. I could point at anyone in this crowd right now and say, give me 10 experiences you've had, a dream, a memory, and experience from this industry, and you could rattle them off to me right now. I guarantee it. There's not a person in here who would miss the beat. unless you're the newest buyer or the newest dealership out there, and you just haven't created those dreams yet. First-time boat buyers, I don't have the statistic for the power sports industry, but for the marine industry, it's 26% of their business. A quarter of the business is a first-time buyer. Maybe they don't yet have that dream memory experience in the power sports industry, but they're in here for a reason, and if you extract that from them, that is their hopeful dream memory and experiences. In our sales process, the greet is the most important step where the most amount of time should be spent. We used to call it a probe before we called it guide discovery. It used to be greet probe. Now we call it greet guide discovery, because apparently once several of us get above the age of 50, the word probe is not an attractive word to us any longer. We use guided discovery now for that step. But the guide discovery is about it's about the bike, it's about the watercraft, it's about whatever it is that I came in here looking for. Note how much time and importance should have been spent on the step before you start talking about the thing. Blows my mind how salespeople just skip right by this. Here's the thing, Mandy, if you hang out with me in the greet for long enough, you and I are gonna have such a good time. You can fumble your way through the rest of the steps, I'll still buy from you. Because I like you, had a great time with you, and invariably I'm gonna trust you. You could not do the greet and do every other step perfectly and not get the sale because you don't know anything about me. And instead of looking like this, your sales triangle looks like this. Now I say that as if you're all using a sales process. Schoolie in the back of the room, Jordan Schoolmeister, put your hand up. Schoolie's coming on right after me. He's from Garage Composites. He's an owner as well. Schoolie and I were at that Marine conference we were in down in Tampa, where they played the terrible music. Lee, just thanks again for that. It's still resonating with me, that rat in my head. We gave a boat show boot camp for 5 hours to 93 people in the room. 5 hours, okay? We were having a great time. We were trading off sections back and forth. And every time I said sales process, I'd see the heads go down. Every time. We'd be having a great time. People would be laughing. And I'd be like, and so this goes back to your sales process. And then the head goes down. And like everybody's... And I said, I'm going to ask you guys a quick question. By show of hands, please answer me. By show of hands, and this is the question I asked. You don't have to do it. I won't put you on the spot. How many of you can tell me right now what step 3 of your sales process is? Any idea how many hands went up? 0 hands went up. And much like I think you're the better dealers for coming to an event like this to learn what's going on in the industry and get better, I think the Marine people who were at that event were the better dealers out there. None of them could tell me what step 3 of a sales process was. I don't care if you use this sales process or the one your dad taught you, or I don't care, the one you learned from some other industry, but to not have a sales process blows my mind. You're basically saying, I don't have a way to take a looker to get to trust me to become a buyer. I just am a polite clerk and I'll just bring you up and answer questions along the way, which I'm gonna bring this back in our last slide. I recently reread this book by Joe Girard, in the Guinness Book of World Records for #1 car salesperson ever. 13,004 cars in a 15-year career. Run the math for a couple of days off. It's about 82 cars a month. 82 for 15 years. He did 82 cars a month, okay? And yes, he has people helping him with the follow-up. But I'll just summarize the whole book for you. There's 2 things he says to do. Have such an amazingly incredible time with the customer when they're here that you've armed yourself with all the content needed for relentless follow-up. That's it. That's the book. You don't have to read it. You're welcome. I just saved you $12. Have such a great time with somebody that you've armed yourself with all the ammunition you need for relentless follow-up. That implies your salespeople are doing relentless follow-up. And that implies they're not skipping the most important step of the whole sales process. You want to know how we hold margins, and we don't have margin compression, and we don't have to worry about chasing every deal. We have to look at what's working. So here you go, we're coming back to it. Here's sales staffing, I'm gonna give you F&I next. One number I want you to look at, percent of gross profit. Payroll as a percent of gross profit is 14.5%. Payroll as a percent of gross profit is 22.1%. If nothing more, that one statistic yields a significant change to the bottom line in operating profitability, which I'm going to give you. Here's F&I. Ever since we started looking at Marine's got like a $200,000 boat and then like a $1.4 million boat. So for us to talk PUS, per unit sold, that became quite an odd conversation about $80,000 pontoon boat and a $1 million yacht. I can't really compare PUS, so we started looking at percentage of sales, and we put that in our metric in Harley Composites as well. So now, the average dealer in the power sports, this is power sports, is running at 5.9%, top line F&I, 5.9% of sales, which, by the way, in power sports, we have guys running at $1,800 a click in F&I net all day long. $1,800 on every unit, including a little kid's bike versus all the big touring bikes. And then you come over here and it's 7.7%. This is the top 10% with a benchmark of 9%. Guys, Ed used to always tell us, put your best salesperson in the F&I box. And nobody wants to take their best salesperson off the showroom floor. But that F&I chair can generate so much incremental revenue. These are deals you already have, and you're selling peace of mind. Ultimately, gang, sales department contribution, top box, top 10%, bottom box, national average. National average, putting $1,485 per unit to the health of the store, contributing to the health of the whole store, okay? At 9.2%, look up here. I don't care what the numbers are, I care about the delta between the 9.2% and the 15.2%. I don't have time to get into the parts and the service, but I'll just give you an absorption number. The absorption is the ability for every department not called sales and F&I to pay for the fixed expenses of the store. And here you have Harley on top and metric on bottom, and they're pretty much the same. 70.6% versus the 51.9 national average. 77.6% versus the 48.4 national average. Which is telling me my parts and service departments are not selling. Remember the sales staffing number and how one was considerably, as a percentage of sales, lower than the other? I can go right behind that, and if I'm gonna guess, and I would push my chips into the middle of the table when I guess on these numbers, I would tell you the lower number, those people are paid guarantees. I don't care what it is. It's a salary, it's a flat guarantee, it's a whatever it happens to be. What they're not paid is on performance. You want to win in this industry, you need to pay on performance. And yes, we have to follow the state regulations. And yes, we have to pay the minimums when we have to pay the minimums. But gang, I want to pay somebody. How many owners are in the room? Show of hands, owners. I would like to know from you, keep your hand up if you can tell me what % of your pay is guaranteed. Oh, you guys know? What? Can you hold that up just a little higher for me, please? That's exactly what the number is. As an owner, you get paid when the store wins. Am I correct? Please tell me if I'm wrong. Why is it so hard to think your staff might want to play that same game and win big when we win big? Your parts and your service departments are not playing that game. We're paying off of guarantees, typically. We're not paying off of performance. And then we get to this stat. Overall expenses and staffing. Two numbers I want you to look at, expense and payroll, top 10 up here. National average down here. Go to the national average. Payroll, 11.8% of sales is going to payroll. What is it with the top 10%? It's 10.2. Do you know why? Because this is a percent of profit and they're paying on performance. They're not just paying, they're paying on the performance of the store. And then you go up into the expenses, and now we got 12.6% and 8.3% in expenses. Guys, you got to decide what game you want to play. I want to hire people who want to win. Natural human behavior is to want to win. Let them win. Otherwise, they just come to work and they get behind the counter and like, hey, what are we doing today? I don't know. I guess we'll just see who comes in today. And they just do what they do every single time. There's no goal. There's no way of winning. They have no idea what they're looking for. You guys got to be ready to give them a game that they want to play. And here is the slide you probably wanted to see. By the way, these percentages are very close between Harley and metric. This is metric. So I figured I'd have more metric in the room than Harley. Average dealer in the country, 4.4% operating profit, okay? 4.4% operating profit, as opposed to the top 10% dealer in the country selling the same stuff, 11.8%. Now I'm gonna guess at this, I'm just gonna take a stab at it with my math. For you Miami fans, we'll talk about this later. The difference between 11.8, like if I took 4.4 and doubled it, I think I'm at 8.8, somewhere in that neighborhood. And if I threw another 4.4 on that, I think I'd be at like 13.2, right? Or Rick, is that ish? Am I close? Somewhere in that neighborhood? Which means you're almost 3 times more profitable as a top 10 dealer than you are as a national average dealer. Just sit with that for 1 second while I take a sip of water. Almost 3x. You're more than 2.5. And you're not scrambling every single day because you're paying too much in flooring. By the way, let's go back to sales contribution, because I did forget flooring. While we're there, see this line right here? As a per unit sold number, 153 top 10% dealers in the country, $246 in flooring, national average. Those are just the ones they're selling. Those aren't the ones that are sitting there. Came to see Sam. I thought this was going to be a fun presentation. So now what? Now what do we do? Couple things. Number one, figure out what game you're playing. You got to figure out what game you're playing. Are you playing this high volume, stack them deep, sell them cheap? I don't care what the margin is. I'm going to make it all back up in service. You know, the auto industry loves to play the game of F&I in service. That's the game they play these days in auto. As a general rule of thumb, they don't play the margin game on the front side. They just take whatever deal they want because they know they're going to clobber it in F&I and hopefully retain you in service. To their credit, if you've been to a nice car dealership and you've gone back for service, it's usually a really good experience. They're very good at wanting you to come back every single time because of the experience. That's the game many of them have chosen to play. If you're running $300 per unit sold in F&I, you can't play that game. I would suggest you play the game the customer wants to play, which is have a great time with me. Make it feel like you want to go for a ride with me. Sell me the experience that I'm looking for. Because it's not about the it's about the experience. Dreams, memories, and experiences. And in so doing, you become the best top paid salespeople in the country while retaining your customers because you built trust in that process. By the way, I'm a little nervous about this whole, what time is it? I got a little bit of time left here, schools. I'm a little nervous about this AI thing because I keep hearing people say, oh, you're developing trust through transparency with pricing. Trust doesn't come from transparency with pricing. Trust comes from a chemical reaction in the other person's brain with the release of serotonin and oxytocin. That's the only place it comes from. Having the price tag makes me feel, oh, that's cool. I appreciate that. Thank you. There's no trust developed in that. I'm ahead of myself. Step 1, figure out what game you're playing. Step 2, what are the metrics you're going to use to keep score so your team knows every single day, did they win or did they lose? What are the metrics? Had a Harley-Davidson dealership in Colorado, and the gals from the Motor Clothes, probably the nicest group of 5 ladies I've ever met that got along with each other spectacularly. But they called one lady Red Marker every time I was there. They didn't call her by her name. They called her Red Marker. Oh, thank you, Red Marker. Hey, Red Marker, you want to run back and get that for me? I'm like, what are you calling her Red Marker for? It's because when you go in the back, there is a scoreboard, and it's based off of 2 things, line items per ticket and average sale. And they have a benchmark. And if you hit the benchmark, you go green. And if you don't hit the benchmark, you go red. And you have to write with your own marker the red mark and why I didn't hit it. There's a little tagline, a little notes field. Here's why I didn't hit the benchmark today. And the person in the red marker category who had the lowest number at the end of the week had to get coffee for all the ladies every single week, and they called her Red Marker for the next week. Effective, maybe a little mean. For a group of women that get on great, I don't know. What's the scoreboard you're using? Are you using margin? Are you using days in inventory? Are you using turns? I don't care which one you use. I care you have one. Figure out what your turn cycle is. Figure out what you need to do to get out of the hole of too much inventory. Play that game until you're out of the hole, and then play the margin game. But you got to know what game you're playing. And then we go here. Please put your hand up in the air if your staff comes to you on every certain interval, be it daily or weekly, and says, hey boss, what training are we doing today? Not, hey boss, are we doing training today? You see the difference? And some of you are like, they don't say either one of those to him. They're just like, I'm outside pushing bikes, that's all I'm doing. And then do it again. And then do it again. And then do it again. Every step of your process. Do it again, do it again, do it again. There's a company called Colorado Motorcycle Adventure. It's in the south part of Denver. These guys do trips on the BDR, like 7 and 10 day trips on all the back road discovery routes and stuff. I've been on 2 of them. I unfortunately missed this last one, but I'll be in Montana in July. Like, can't wait to do this trip. These guys, imagine this, like where they make their money is on the tour. They make their money on the tour and the renting of the motorcycles, which is crazy because historically, I think of Harley dealers and they're like never making money on the rental of the motorcycles. But anyhow, that's where they make all their money. And we go in there and I'm with the guys and we put a big giant whiteboard up. And the guy, Kevin, who's the owner of the company, writes friction. And he said, I want to know where all the friction points are. From the second those 10 Japanese people call in and say, we would like to go on a tour, then what happens? How fast do we get back to them? Did we take their deposit? Was the transaction for the deposit easy? Cool. All the way up to when do they fly in? Who's picking them at the airport? Do we have their bikes ready for them? So when they come here, they just sit on the bikes. Everything's cool. Cool. You guys go to dinner. We're going to see you bright and early. We got all the rest of it. Zero friction. It'd be interesting to do that exercise in your store. Where are the friction points with your customer? Because friction points make people walk away. So the next bullet point is to remove the friction. And a great man once told me, if you just make it easy to buy in a want-based industry, you'll sell more of them. That would happen to be Ed Lemko, who was my mentor. Here's another dude I respect, which is Nick Saban from the Alabama Crimson Tide, who's no longer from the Alabama Crimson Tide as a head coach, and I think they probably wish they had him still on board. If you've been watching any college football, it was a rough game against Georgia for the SEC championship. Or for they lost in the SEC championship. But he's a great leader, and he gives a lot of leadership courses and stuff out there. And he said when people come to play for him, he was a master recruiter. He'd be 5 people deep, first round, like all-star talent in each position of the entire football team, 5 deep. So if you ever got someone hurt, cool, we just drop the next guy in. And they would wait their turn 2 and 3 years to get a chance to start, which the portal blew up. But he would say when you get players in, some of them are bad. How many of you have hired somebody thinking they'll be a rock star and they're terrible? It happens, right? I guess that happened, right? He said most of them are average. Hear that. Hear that. The dynasty that they built at Alabama, his answer is most of the people I bring in are average. It's my goal to get them past good and up to great. But some of them are pretty good. Those are actually harder to get to great than the average people. Because the average people typically know that they're not as good as they think they are and they're willing to have the coaching. These people have enough ego, they think they're great already. He said, my goal is to get them to great and hopefully some of the good fall into the great category. He said, it's a very rare exception that people come in and they are elite or they let me take them to a place of being elite. Gang, that's what we're talking about here. We know how to do it in the industry. We know the behavior that allows customers to not only have a great time, but pay full retail for the product. We know statistically from our composite, if you can get family, occupation, recreation, motivation, animals and teams, or some combination of that out of somebody when you're talking to them, easy things that people love to talk about, family, occupation, recreation, motivation, animals and teams. And as a sales manager, you don't look at the deal until the salesperson can tell you this. By the way, the customer just had an amazingly good time because you're asking about things that are so important to them. Ask me about my 17-year-old daughter, 17 years old, who's about to go away to school in another year, and I'm losing my mind because I just realized that my little buddy is going to be 1,300 miles away from me. It's tearing me apart. I'll have that conversation with you. Schoolie knows I've been having that conversation with several people over the last month. Like it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Said, oh no. I got 1 year left. 2 points margin. There's your answer. If you can get format on every customer before you turn the piece of paper over, because sales managers love the deal. Let's look at the deal. Let's look at the deal. Before they turn the piece of paper over, if you can get format on the customer and the salesperson says, tell me what you know about this customer. Tell me format about this customer. What's his dog's name? Why does he have a dog in the logo? If you can get that on your customers, it's a 2 point bump in margin. You just sit here and you think about what the margins are out there right now. 2-point bump might look really awesome. We know what it means to be a professional and play a great or maybe even an elite game. It's a matter of you going home and knowing what game you're playing, what you're going to keep score with, and how to get these people there. Remove the roadblocks and remove the friction and get your team on board with winning. I have one more slide. That's it. That's the slide. I have comments about this. This was an afterthought. This has been bugging me for a while now. What about AI? There are 4 major sessions at this event that are talking about AI. Just so you know, if you haven't looked at the schedule, 4 of them. And I sit here and I think about, oh, technology. Woo, technology is going to fix the problem. Okay, all right. How many of you had a Motorola Razr phone? Now the old ones, not the new ones, yeah? The little sleek ones were like, yeah. Guys loved it because it actually fit in our pocket. It was awesome, right? How about before that, StarTAC? Anybody have the Motorola StarTAC? That's a pretty good phone. It's a pretty good phone. Pagers. Anybody have a pager out there? Yeah. But people could get a hold of you. We could do business. We could be more efficient. We'll get business done with a pager. Okay, you bet. Then cell phones came along. The smartphones, not the big Motorola bricks, but smartphones came along. Then we're like, now we can be mobile. We can do so much more business. Did you know when Joe Girard wrote that book, that automotive book, the average number of cars that a salesperson sold every single month in the 80s, do you know what that number was? Anyone want to guess? It's 15. Do you know what the number is today? Oh, it's 15. All this damn technology that we keep buying. Oh, you got to have this CRM, and you got to have this digital marketing company, and you got to have this thing over here, and this thing over here, and now AI's coming. AI is going to take over the world. And maybe it is, and maybe I'm out of my mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. But here's what I do know. If you are in a hurry to put systems and processes in place so that you can quickly respond to a digital lead coming in, by the way, if you don't think I know that it's an AI responding to my lead, right now, maybe not next year, but right now, I know it's an AI. And by the way, if you just ask the AI, hey, is there anything else I can do for you? When they say that, and you say, can you tell me the recipe for a blueberry muffin? She will. Because she's trained to give you an answer, and then throws her for a complete loop. And it's like, okay, I get it. You're speeding up the process. No doubt, hear me on this, there's some amazing stuff AI can do. It can speed up your response rate tremendously. We just came from the marine space, and the average response rate for a digital lead is 27 hours. The automotive industry says 3 to 5 minutes. Anybody in that 3 to 5 minute range out here? How long would you, if I came to your door, Gene, I came to your door at GoAZ and I opened it, how long till somebody starts talking to me? Not even 3 to 5 minutes. Somebody's on me fast. I want you to stop calling it a digital lead and start calling it a digital door swing. How long are you going to leave me standing here before somebody responds back to me? All right? So Sam, AI is going to fix that. It's going to give oh, okay, cool. Let's let it fix that. Let's say it does everything perfectly. You know what the average appointment set number is in the industry right now? Like somebody put their hand up and said, I'm really interested. Could somebody get back to me? And we had an exchange of some sort. How many of those people came into the store with an appointment set? I'll tell you for the sake of time, because Schooley's pacing back there like, you're going to steal my time. 20%. Benchmark's 50, which means top 20% of our deals are hitting 50. The average in the country is 20% of someone. Do you know how far in the sales process you have to be to go, can someone call me? Here's all my information. You're way down the sales process at that point. And I can only get 20% of you in the store? The average number of front door swings that converted into somebody in your traffic log is 8%. 8. How many people should be put on the traffic log? All of them. How many did we get? 8. I don't even know how that's possible. So my feeling on AI is here's another piece of equipment that can probably do an amazing job speeding up your efficiencies, but you're just speeding up somebody to get to your dealership so that you could not respond in a timely fashion, not get them into your store, and get them into your traffic log or your CRM at an 8% rate. Why would you bring 100 people into your store to piss them off too, not just the ones you already have? We could just do a better job with the ones we already have. I am all for technology speeding up the efficiencies and building operations manuals and all of that kind of stuff. But when it comes down to it, this is what matters, right here. And right now, AI can't do this. And if we can't train our staff how to get good at this, we're going to be right where we were 10 years ago. Same numbers as 10 years ago. And Schooley's got some more numbers coming on that. If I had an AI system and I had a dealership, the first thing I would train it how to do is how do you establish a relationship with another person coming in the door? Train it how to do that first. And then I'd worry about all the other stuff out there. Okay. I'm going to hang out because there might be a question or two. Schooley's got to get up here and plug in. I really want to thank you guys for being here. If you'd like a copy of the presentation, hit me up. I will happily shoot that to you. Otherwise, enjoy the show as I certainly will. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.